Is this the breakthrough that we've been looking for on the Senzo'S trial? Well, you probably wonder, what is it that I'm talking about? Well, there are two things that were said, in fact, few things that were said by number one, General Sibiya. Number two, the Chief of Staff to Minister Senzo'S. Now, let me start with the Chief of Staff, Nkabinde. Nkabinde said something very interesting. I'm going to come back and talk to you about General Sibiya, because even General Sibiya, he said something that I still don't understand. Also, consider the fact that there's been this speculation and allegation of him being on the crime scene, right? Remember that part. Remember the part that when he became the deputy commissioner and he was in charge of investigations in this country, he wanted also the cold case unity to be under himself, right? So consider all of that. Right, I know. Park that. Now, come back to this point. Mr. Nkabinde says to us he has been harassed by the South African Police Service members. He then tells us that the police officers, they were looking for him. So when they arrived, they did not find him, and according to his statement, they found his brother. So his brother was, abused, loosely abused by members of the South African Police Service. He then said something interesting. He says that he wants to get arrested if they have an evidence, but he wants things to be done through his lawyer. Now, mark these words, because when you then go back to the Senzo'S trial, this word then begins to make perfect sense. So he wants to be arrested through his lawyer. And he goes on to name the dirtiness of the South African Police Service members, and he went as far as saying these members, he knows them very well because he had worked with IP'd. Now mark those words. IP'd, their number one responsibility is to investigate the members of South African Police Service behavior. So when he said he knows them very well, it's because they were responsible to investigate their behavior. So they know their shenanigans, right? So mark that. And then you hear General Sibiya said something very important. Sibiya said something very important, guys. General Sibiya said he wants to be arrested during the day. And this is where it cracks the Senzo'S case. His justification in wanting to be arrested during the day is as follows. He said police are able to put a firearm next to you, shoot you to death, and then say, you were fighting against them, here is an evidence. We said, wait. Do you remember that on the Senzo'S trial? Do you remember that the first group of police officers, they found nothing? When the second group of police officers arrived on that crime scene, suddenly there was a bullet projectile that was found in between two glass jars. We asked the question, how come these things, it did not break any of these jars? Do you remember that? So now there comes Sibiya telling us that police are able to manufacture evidence. Then on the Senzo'S trial, we've been asking a lot of questions. Boom! General Sibiya tells us that police are able to do that. And as we've been listening to a lot of things on the Senzo'S trial, police trying to justify their behavior, telling us all sorts of things, right? As they were doing so, they were saying that police are clean, and they were creating a picture that police cannot and will not. And I want to repeat this. They were creating a picture that police did not manufacture evidence. It's just not possible. There comes General Sibiya and said, no, police are able to do that because, right, now police are about to arrest him, and then we hear that. What I'm trying to say is, take all of that, come back to the Senzo'S case, then you realize that we have been correct to say there has been evidence that were manufactured. Now, let me remind you something. Do you remember that accused number 2, Bongandans, said that, no man, on my bank statement, it should reflect that I was somewhere Gwanongoma, right? But the bank statement is brought and it does not have that. And it took time for people to get that bank statement, if you remember vividly. Now, when you hear a senior police official suddenly confessing that police are able to manufacture evidence, go back to the Senzo'S case. Now, it's the issue of accused number 2, Untanze. But it doesn't end there. When he said police are able to manufacture evidence, you don't have to go back and say accused number 1. Do you remember that the bag that was found on accused number 1 was the same bag that was found on accused number 2? Do you remember that? We even questioned that man, guys. Everything looks identical. When they searched accused number 1, they found him with some ammunition, whatever they found on accused number 1. Accused number 2, when you go back and you listen to what was found, same. We were like, nah. So, now, I ask you a question. So, do police plant evidence only against senior police officers, or they plant it when they arrest people? According to General Sibiya, he said police will do that and also take your life. No. He said it, that they will plant a firearm next to you, shoot and kill you. So he doesn't want to be arrested during the night. He wants to be arrested during the day. Wait. Listen to that confession. Go back and ask this question. What if accused number 1, who was found in possession of drugs, those substances that cannot be named, were planted by the members of the South African Police Service too? What I'm trying to say is that what Sibiya said cannot be taken for granted, and it should not be taken for granted, because it comes from a senior police official. A person that is number 2, high-ranking police officer, tells us that there is corruption in the South African Police Service. He even gives us a description of how this corruption is carried out by these people. And I'm asking you now a question to rethink the things that we've been suspecting on the Senzo'S case, now confirmed by General Sibiya, now that he's facing arrest. I guess there could be more people confessing to these things if some of them were to face arrest. I'm trying to ask you a question. After this confession, do you really believe that all the accused are guilty as charged? We've been asking a lot of questions about the firearm. You will remember that the firearm on the Senzo'S case, when accused number 3 was arrested, they took that firearm, tested this firearm, it came back negative. It did not test positive on the Senzo'S case. But then suddenly, the second group tested the firearm and now suddenly it tests positive. And I'm saying, go back to the words of General Sibiya and say, wait, Sibiya, what did you say? You're saying police are able to plant evidence. The first police officers to test the firearm, it tested negative. Results were negative. The second group tested the same firearm, now suddenly it is positive. Then you bring the words of General Sibiya in between and you say, wait a minute, General Sibiya, tell me, are police capable of planting evidence? He said yes. So if police are capable of planting evidence, and then you say, wait a minute, let's not believe Sibiya. Chief of Staff, Mr. Nkabinde, are police capable of planting evidence or not? He said yes. So if we hear from them telling us that police are capable of planting evidence, how much evidence was planted on the Senzo'S case? That's the question that I want to ask you. Because you can't take what Abu Generals Sibiya Nkabinde are saying lightly. This is the breakthrough that we've been looking for on the Senzo'S case.